The early months of 2025 were thick with an unspoken tension. Along the volatile line of control, the air itself seemed to crackle with anticipation, a grim forerunner to the storm that was about to break. Decades of unresolved disputes and simmering animosity between India and Pakistan had once again reached a fever pitch. Cross-border provocations were not uncommon, but a sense of foreboding suggested that something more significant was on the horizon. Intelligence reports hinted at increased activity in terrorist training camps across the border, and the rhetoric from certain quarters in Pakistan grew increasingly belligerent. The fragile peace, always a precarious balancing act in this troubled region, felt closer than ever to shattering completely under the weight of historical grievances and fresh provocations. The breaking point arrived with brutal suddenness. In the serene, picturesque valley of Pahalgam, a popular tourist destination in Kashmir, terror struck. A Pakistan-sponsored terrorist attack, meticulously planned and ruthlessly executed, shattered the calm before May 7, 2025. Details of the attack painted a grim picture of violence aimed at instilling fear and destabilizing the region. This was not just another isolated incident, it bore the hallmarks of a calculated assault designed to provoke a strong Indian reaction. The choice of Pahalgam, a symbol of Kashmir's natural beauty and a place frequented by civilians, underscored the terrorists' depraved indifference to innocent lives and their intent to maximize shock and outrage across India. The news from Pahalgam sent waves of shock and anger across India. The nation grieved, but grief quickly turned into a demand for decisive action. For too long, many felt, India had shown restraint in the face of repeated aggressions. This time, the call for retribution was loud and clear, echoing from public squares to the highest echelons of power. The government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, found itself under immense pressure to respond in a manner that would not only punish the perpetrators, but also send an unmistakable message to their sponsors across the border. The attack was unequivocally attributed to terror outfits operating with impunity from Pakistani soil, a charge Pakistan routinely denied, but which international observers often found credible. The Pahalgam attack, therefore, became more than just another tragedy in the long and bloody history of the Kashmir conflict. It served as the ultimate catalyst, the spark that ignited the powder keg of accumulated frustrations. It was the final straw that pushed India towards a path of direct and forceful military reprisal. The strategic patience that had characterized India's response to many previous provocations appeared to have run its course. The stage was now set for a significant military operation, one that would aim to deliver a telling blow to the terror infrastructure that threatened India's security and sovereignty, leading directly to the conceptualization and launch of Operation Sindoor. The decision to launch Operation Sindoor was not taken lightly. It involved intense deliberations within India's security establishment, including the Prime Minister's office, the Ministry of Defense, and the chiefs of the armed forces. The primary objective was clear: to neutralize key terrorist infrastructure within Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir with speed and precision, minimizing collateral damage while maximizing impact on the terror groups. Utmost secrecy shrouded the planning stages. The element of surprise was deemed crucial for the success of the mission, ensuring that the targets would be caught off guard and unable to mount an effective defense or disperse before the Indian forces struck. This meticulous planning reflected a new Indian doctrine of proactive defense. On the fateful morning of May 7, 2025, Operation Sindoor was unleashed. Indian armed forces, employing a combination of air power and special ground units, moved with astonishing swiftness. Within a breathtakingly short span of just 22 minutes, the operation achieved its primary objectives. This rapid execution was a testament to the high level of preparedness, coordination, and technological capabilities of the Indian military. The operation was designed to be a surgical strike, hitting hard and fast, then disengaging before the adversary could fully comprehend the scale of the assault or muster a coordinated response. The message was intended to be as much psychological as it was physical, demonstrating India's capacity for decisive action. Among the high-value targets successfully engaged was the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed located in Bahawalpur. a notorious hub for orchestrating terror activities against India. Another significant blow was dealt to Lashkar-e-Taiba with its Muridka camp, a sprawling complex used for training and indoctrination, also being hit. These two organizations had been responsible for numerous attacks on Indian soil, and their neutralization was a top priority. The destruction of these command and control centers aimed to cripple their operational capabilities and disrupt their leadership structures, sending a clear signal that their safe havens were no longer inviolable and that India would not hesitate to cross the border to protect its interests. The scope of Operation Sindoor extended beyond just these known terrorist headquarters. Indian forces also targeted critical military and communication infrastructure that supported these terror outfits. This included airbase installations, radar stations, and communication hubs across various locations in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. By degrading these support systems, India aimed to curtail Pakistan's ability to provide logistical and intelligence backing to the terrorist groups. The comprehensive nature of the targets indicated a well-thought-out strategy to inflict significant damage on the entire ecosystem of terror that had been allowed to flourish in the region, marking a paradigm shift in India's counterterrorism strategy. The immediate aftermath of Operation Sindoor confirmed its devastating effectiveness. Reports flowing in indicated that a total of 9 major terrorist bases had been completely destroyed. This was not just a symbolic strike, it was a tangible blow to the terror machinery that had long targeted India. The physical annihilation of these camps, training facilities, and command centers meant a significant degradation of their ability to plan, train for, and launch future attacks. The success of the operation was a validation of India's intelligence gathering and its military's precision strike capabilities. The swiftness and surgical nature of the strikes also aimed to limit the window for escalation, although such a bold move inherently carried significant risks. Pakistan's initial reaction was a mixture of shock, denial, and frantic attempts to control the narrative. Official statements from Islamabad sought to downplay the extent of the damage, with some even denying that such an operation had taken place on the scale claimed by India. However, the undeniable evidence, likely including satellite imagery and intelligence intercepts, made such denials increasingly untenable on the international stage. The world watched with bated breath as the two nuclear-armed neighbors teetered on the brink. International scrutiny intensified, with global powers urging restraint and de-escalation, though their calls often fell on ears hardened by years of conflict and mistrust. Naturally, the rhetoric from both New Delhi and Islamabad escalated sharply. Indian leaders hailed Operation Sindoor as a necessary and just response to unprovoked aggression, emphasizing the nation's right to self-defense. Conversely, Pakistani leadership condemned the strikes as a violation of sovereignty and an act of war, vowing a suitable response. The war of words fueled an already tense atmosphere, raising fears of a wider, more conventional conflict erupting between the two nations. The situation remained on a knife edge, with military forces on both sides on high alert, prepared for any eventuality in the days and weeks that followed the audacious Indian operation. Operation Sindoor undeniably altered the strategic calculus in South Asia. It demonstrated a new, more assertive Indian posture, willing to undertake preemptive military action deep inside enemy territory to neutralize threats. This marked a departure from previous responses, which were often more reactive or confined to the line of control. The operation sent a chilling message to terror groups and their state sponsors that India's tolerance for cross-border terrorism had reached its limit. While the long-term consequences were yet to unfold, the immediate impact was a significant disruption of terrorist operations and a clear signal of India's resolve to act decisively when its security was threatened. In the wake of Operation Sindoor and amidst the heightened tensions, Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered a powerful and unambiguous message to Pakistan and the world. Speaking at a public rally in Bikaner, Rajasthan on May 22, 2025, his words were resolute and uncompromising. He declared that there would be no talks, no trade with Pakistan as long as it continued to support and export terrorism. This firm stance signaled a significant hardening of India's policy towards its western neighbor, effectively shutting down diplomatic and economic channels until tangible action was taken against terror networks operating from Pakistani soil. The message was clear: India's patience had worn thin. The no talks, no trade policy articulated by Prime Minister Modi was not merely a rhetorical flourish, it represented a fundamental shift in India's engagement strategy. For years, dialogue and commerce had often continued, albeit sporadically, even amidst periods of tension. However, the brazenness of the Pahalgam attack and the continued intransigence of Pakistan in tackling terror groups led to this drastic measure. The policy aimed to isolate Pakistan and exert maximum pressure, making it clear that normal relations were contingent upon a complete cessation of cross-border terrorism. It was a bold declaration that India would no longer engage in discussions while its citizens remained under threat from Pakistan-based terror. Furthermore, Prime Minister Modi stipulated a very specific condition under which any future discussions with Pakistan might take place. He asserted that talks, if and when they happened, would only concern the issue of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This statement not only reiterated India's long-standing claim over the entirety of Jammu and Kashmir, but also framed any potential dialogue in terms that were non-negotiable for India. By focusing on Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, Modi effectively shifted the agenda, putting Pakistan on the defensive and highlighting India's territorial claims as a central point of contention that needed to be addressed before any broader normalization of relations could be considered. Adding another layer of pressure, Modi issued a stark warning regarding the sharing of river waters. He cautioned that if Pakistan did not cease its export of terror, India would be compelled to review and potentially block Pakistan's rightful share of river water, as per the Indus Waters Treaty, by fully utilizing India's own entitlements. This was a significant threat, given Pakistan's dependence on rivers flowing from India. Moreover, Modi contemptuously dismissed Pakistan's nuclear threats, which were often used as a tool of intimidation, stating that India was not afraid, and that the Indian armed forces had been given a free hand to respond decisively to any terrorist attacks or provocations. This demonstrated a newfound confidence in India's conventional capabilities and its willingness to call Pakistan's bluff. Section 5. The Espionage Web. Unraveling Pakistan's Covert Operations. The period surrounding the May 2025 conflict was also marked by a significant uptick in counter-espionage activities by Indian intelligence agencies. It became increasingly clear that Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, or ISI, had intensified its efforts to create and operate spy networks within India, seeking sensitive information to further its strategic objectives. The heightened state of alert and improved intelligence coordination led to the unmasking of several covert operations, revealing the depth and breadth of Pakistan's espionage efforts aimed at destabilizing India and gathering crucial military and strategic intelligence. These revelations added another dangerous dimension to the already fraught bilateral relationship. In a major breakthrough, Indian authorities announced the arrest of 12 individuals in the 2 weeks leading up to May 21 to 23, 2025. These arrests, spanning across the states of Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, pointed towards a widespread and potentially deeply entrenched Pakistan-linked spy network. The geographical distribution of the arrests suggested a coordinated effort by the ISI to penetrate various regions of India, possibly targeting areas with significant military presence or strategic importance. The dismantling of this network was a significant counterintelligence victory for India, preventing further leakage of sensitive information and disrupting ISI's operational capabilities within the country. The profiles of the individuals arrested were notably diverse, indicating the ISI's multifaceted recruitment strategy. Among those apprehended were a student, a security guard, and a businessman. This variety underscored the ISI's approach of attempting to lure individuals from different walks of life, potentially exploiting vulnerabilities such as financial distress, ideological leanings, or personal grievances. The recruitment of seemingly ordinary citizens into espionage activities highlighted the insidious nature of such networks, and the challenges faced by security agencies in identifying and neutralizing them before significant damage could be inflicted upon national security interests. Indian intelligence agencies, working in close concert with state police forces, launched extensive investigations to fully unravel the extent of this espionage web. The focus was not only on apprehending the operatives but also on identifying their handlers, their methods of communication, the types of information being sought, and the financial trails supporting these illicit activities. The successful crackdown served as a stern warning to those contemplating collaboration with foreign intelligence agencies against India's interests. It also highlighted the continuous and clandestine war being fought in the shadows, even as overt military confrontations captured global headlines during this tumultuous period. Section 6. Jyoti Malhotra, the YouTuber spy and her network. One of the most sensational cases to emerge from the crackdown on espionage was that of Jyoti Malhotra, a YouTuber from Hisar, Haryana. Known for her travel vlogs under the channel name Travel with Joe, Malhotra presented a public image of an adventurous globetrotter. However, beneath this facade, she was allegedly operating as an agent for Pakistan's ISI. Her arrest sent shockwaves, highlighting how seemingly innocuous individuals could be co-opted into the murky world of international espionage. The case underscored the evolving tactics of intelligence agencies, which increasingly utilize individuals with non-traditional profiles to gather information and conduct covert operations. Investigations revealed that Malhotra had allegedly been in regular contact with Ehsanur Rahim, also known by the alias Danish, a staff member at the Pakistan High Commission in New Delhi. This contact reportedly spanned from November 2023 to March 2025, a significant period during which sensitive information might have been compromised. Malhotra confessed to these interactions and admitted to having visited Pakistan on 2 occasions, where Rahim allegedly introduced her to other Pakistani intelligence operatives. These meetings were crucial in establishing her role within the espionage network and understanding the chain of command she reported to. The nature of the information Malhotra allegedly shared was of grave concern. She was accused of providing her Pakistani handlers with sensitive details regarding Indian Army movements, a critical piece of intelligence that could have severe implications for national security, especially during a period of heightened military readiness. Recovered WhatsApp chats between Malhotra and an ISI operative identified as Ali Hassan further incriminated her. These chats reportedly included discussions about undercover operations in India, and tellingly, a personal message from Malhotra stating, "Get me married in Pakistan." It was also reported that she was in touch with a Pakistani official even before the Pahalgam terror attack, raising questions about potential foreknowledge or involvement. Authorities also delved deep into Malhotra's financial dealings and extensive international travel history. 4 of her bank accounts, showing transactions originating from Dubai, came under intense scrutiny, suggesting a possible channel for payments from her handlers. Her travel records, which included trips not only to Pakistan but also to China, Dubai, Thailand, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Indonesia, raised further questions about the scope of her activities and connections. As part of the investigation, 3 mobile phones and a laptop belonging to Malhotra were seized for forensic examination, along with 2 phones from Harkarat Singh, the IT in charge of the Haryana Sikh Gurdwara Management Committee, who was also implicated, indicating the network's potential reach. Section 7. Global reactions, Trump's mediation claims and international unease. The swift escalation of hostilities between India and Pakistan, culminating in Operation Sindoor, inevitably drew significant attention from the international community. As 2 nuclear-armed states engaged in direct military action and sharp rhetoric, concerns about regional stability and the potential for a wider conflict grew palpable. Capitals around the world issued statements urging both New Delhi and Islamabad to exercise maximum restraint and to seek diplomatic solutions to de-escalate the situation. The primary fear was that the tit-for-tat actions could spiral out of control, leading to catastrophic consequences that would extend far beyond the subcontinent. Amidst these global calls for calm, then U.S. President Donald Trump made a characteristic intervention. He publicly claimed credit for mediating a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, suggesting that his administration's efforts had been instrumental in pulling the 2 nations back from the brink. This assertion was consistent with Trump's penchant for highlighting his personal role in international diplomacy, often taking credit for developments even when his direct involvement was debatable or unconfirmed by the principal parties. His claims, however, were met with a familiar response from one of the key players involved in the crisis. India swiftly and unequivocally denied President Trump's assertions of mediation. The Ministry of External Affairs reiterated India's long-standing position that all issues with Pakistan are bilateral and must be resolved directly between the 2 countries, without the intervention of any third party. This stance was not new. India has consistently resisted attempts by external powers to mediate its disputes with Pakistan, particularly concerning Kashmir. The denial of Trump's claim was firm and public. underscoring India's insistence on its sovereign right to manage its foreign policy and security matters, independently of external pressures or unsolicited mediatory offers. Beyond the specific claims made by President Trump, the broader diplomatic landscape showed a general unease among major global powers. While many nations expressed concern and called for de-escalation, there was no concerted, unified international effort to mediate or intervene robustly. Most countries seemed content to issue statements and watch from the sidelines, perhaps wary of getting entangled in the complex and deeply rooted conflict. This highlighted the limitations of international diplomacy in such situations, where the principal actors are determined to pursue their own courses of action, driven by domestic compulsions and historical animosities, leaving the region in a continued state of anxious uncertainty. Section 8. The Dragon's Shadow. China's Arunachal Provocation. As tensions simmered intensely between India and Pakistan in May 2025, another significant regional player, China, made a move that further complicated the already volatile geopolitical landscape. Concurrently with the Indo-Pak confrontations, Beijing announced its decision to rename 27 locations in India's northeastern state of Arunachal Pradesh. This act of cartographic aggression was not unprecedented, but its timing, during a period of acute crisis on India's western front, was widely interpreted as a deliberate attempt to exert psychological pressure on New Delhi and to signal Beijing's strategic alignment, however tacit, with Pakistan. China lays claim to vast swaths of Arunachal Pradesh, which it refers to as Xiangnan, or South Tibet. The renaming of places is a tactic Beijing has employed previously as part of its broader strategy to assert its territorial claims and challenge India's sovereignty over the region. These actions, while having no basis in international law or historical fact from India's perspective, serve to keep the border dispute alive and to test India's resolve. The repetition of such provocations underscores China's persistent assertiveness along the line of actual control, LAC, and its efforts to alter the status quo through unilateral measures. India's response to China's provocation was swift and firm. The Ministry of External Affairs issued a strongly worded statement, categorically rejecting Beijing's attempt to assign invented names to places in Arunachal Pradesh. The statement reiterated India's unambiguous position that Arunachal Pradesh is, has been, and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India. New Delhi made it clear that assigning invented names does not alter this reality on the ground, nor does it lend any legitimacy to China's baseless claims. This robust diplomatic pushback was crucial in asserting India's sovereignty and signaling its refusal to be intimidated by such pressure tactics. The timing of China's actions significantly exacerbated the strategic challenges for India. With the nation already deeply engaged in managing a crisis with Pakistan, the provocation from China raised the specter of a potential two-front security dilemma, a scenario that Indian military planners have long been wary of. China's move was seen by many analysts as a coordinated effort with Pakistan to keep India off balance. It underscored the complex interplay of relationships in the region, where the Sino-Pak axis often works in concert to counter India's growing influence. This added another layer of complexity to an already dangerously fraught situation in South Asia. Section 9. Echoes of Conflict, Regional Stability and an Uncertain Future. The tumultuous events of May 2025, the terror attack in Pahalgam, the swift retribution of Operation Sindoor, Prime Minister Modi's hardened no talks, no trade stance, the unmasking of extensive espionage networks, and China's concurrent provocations in Arunachal Pradesh collectively left an indelible mark on the South Asian landscape. These occurrences were not isolated incidents but rather interconnected threads in a tapestry of escalating tensions, fundamentally reshaping regional dynamics and casting long shadows over the prospects for peace and stability. The month served as a stark reminder of the fragility of the existing order. The immediate consequence of this period of intense confrontation was a significant erosion of regional stability. The trust deficit between India and Pakistan, already vast, widened into a chasm of open hostility and deep-seated suspicion. Operation Sindoor, while deemed a success by India in neutralizing terrorist threats, also heightened the risk of retaliatory actions and further military escalation. The aggressive posturing and uncompromising rhetoric from both sides created an environment where miscalculation could easily lead to a wider conflagration, a terrifying prospect given the nuclear capabilities of both nations. The carefully constructed, albeit often violated, norms of engagement seem to have been discarded. Looking ahead, the long-term implications for diplomatic relations appear grim. Prime Minister Modi's no talks, no trade policy, if maintained, signals a prolonged period of diplomatic freeze. While intended to pressure Pakistan into dismantling its terror infrastructure, such a stance also limits avenues for deconfliction and crisis management. Furthermore, the explicit warning about potentially blocking river waters introduces a volatile new element into the bilateral equation, one that could have far-reaching humanitarian and ecological consequences, transforming water resources into a potent weapon of coercive diplomacy and a future flashpoint for conflict. Ultimately, May 2025 underscored a new, more assertive Indian strategic posture, one less tolerant of asymmetric warfare and more willing to employ decisive military force in response to perceived existential threats. However, this assertiveness plays out in an increasingly complex and dangerous geopolitical arena, complicated by the strategic ambitions of other regional and global powers like China. The echoes of this conflict will likely reverberate for years to come, defining the contours of India-Pakistan relations and shaping the security architecture of South Asia, leaving an uncertain future where the path to lasting peace remains elusive and fraught with peril.